Thank you guys for coming.
And now, Luciana, you've been to other cons in your capacity as one of the stars of Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
You're Canadian, so have you done Canadian ones before? I know you've done them in Europe and in the States.
No, this is my first Canadian one.
It's Canadian con.
Yeah. I grew up here. I'm glad to know. Can I take this off?
Yeah.
There we go.
I were like saying, we were doing karaoke before you got in here.
Yeah, you missed it. It was great.
Yeah, you might have heard it.
But you know, I've done many conventions, but I'm still nervous.
Yeah. Can I ask you about your character in Battlestar Galactica versus Caprica? Obviously, Kat, she was troubled. She was addicted to STEM. She was a rebel. We learned at the end of BSG that she'd actually taken on somebody else's personality. Your character in Caprica, pretty straight-laced, right? Yeah. So can you talk about the differences between them?
You know what I think is funny is that whenever anybody ever mentions Kat, they're like, she was the STEM junkie, but
she gets a bad rap.
It was only one episode. She
got clean.
She cleaned up after that, but nobody ever says she was Galactica's Top Gun.
She was Top Gun for a while after she defeated Scar, right?
Until the day she died, she was Top Gun.
Because she killed Scar, the silent.
She did.
Right.
Good episode, by the way.
Thank you. Thanks. That was really fun to shoot.
Well, Lacey, you're a huge fan of BSG, right?
Yeah, I watched it after we shot the pilot, and I fell in love with the series. I think it's incredible, and I think she's incredible.
Oh, thank you.
Everyone, you guys were great.
Thanks.
Now, Magda, your character, Lacey Rand, has taken in Caprica more of a pivotal role as we've seen this season unfold. So, has it been gratifying for you to see her really take second stage, or first stage?
Yeah, I actually really like the fact that she was very meek and under the radar, and throughout this half of the season and a lot more in the next half of the season, she becomes a lot more prominent and stands up for what she believes in, and is actually, stops letting people kick her while she's down. Sometimes literally.
Well, in tonight's episode, as AJ said, we already saw it, we gave you those amazing spoilers. But in tonight's episode, she really starts to stand up for herself. So do you feel like tonight's episode is a bit of a turning point for Lacey?
Yeah, this episode is definitely her, this is no turning back episode, I feel. This is where she just kind of lands in a whole bad situations and has to choose the lesser of all evil. And because she makes one decision, it sets her off on this massive trip, which is the second half. Like, this, I think, is extremely pivotal for Lacey's character in the whole season. Like, why she becomes who she is at the end.
I can't wait to watch.
Jen, are we going to see more of Pariah as the series unfolds?
I don't know. I hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Indeed.
She hasn't died. She hasn't gotten fired from Greystone Industries, so I'm hoping
She has a scary boss.
She does. Well, what do you think of Daniel Greystone? Is he a good guy or a bad guy?
I think he's misunderstood.
I think it's hard to say.
I mean, he loves his daughter, right? And he's so desperate to try to come to terms with the fact that she's died and that she might still be alive. It's the whole Frankenstein.
Well, Eric Stoltz is one of the only actors that you two, I guess, would have had the opportunity to work with because the show is so pragmatic in character lines. What's it like working with Mr. Stoltz?
He's so professional. I've never worked with anybody like that in my life. He likes to rehearse a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, which I love. I love it. And he's a huge actor, so you think that he wouldn't need to rehearse, or wouldn't, not need, but want to rehearse so much. But he does, and I love it. And he's also an amazing director.
Did he direct because he directed one of the episodes of Caprica?
No, I just know that he's directed a million other things before Caprica. And so, he's always got that in mind. He's like a director when he's acting. He's like, okay, I want to do this, I want to shoot this, So,
he sees it in his head, and you see it in his eyes, and it kind of scares you.
He's so good.
It really is.
So good.
I wish I had more scenes. I'm really jealous that you get to work with him a lot. I pretty much only got to work with him in the pilot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was just like,
he's good.
Magda, can you talk about the actors that you get to work with a lot? Because your character is very interesting. And one of the few characters that straddles V-world and the real world. You really kind of get airtime in both. So do you approach that different as an actor when you're in V-world versus the real world?
To the extent that it's V-world and, it's a virtual reality and that it's not real, but it's real in these characters' lives. And it's kind of hard to explain.
And when you're in the V Club, you have less inhibitions, right?
Yeah, and I mean, for Lacey, in the beginning, it was with her and Zoe. She was a lot more living a risky life in that V world, and then Ben came along, and I mean, this is all stuff that you didn't really get to see. It kind of began at the point where she started wanting to find something to believe in, and didn't want to have this emptiness anymore.
Well, the V-World's a really interesting aspect of Caprica. It does pose a moral question in itself, you know, would you want to go to that place yourselves? Would you go to V-World to hang out?
I believe what they just asked me, would you hang out at V-Club?
I would never hang out at V-Club.
Would you not, just to try it?
That place scares the crap out of me. Are you kidding me? Everybody's shooting each other and orgies.
Yeah, I'm like, totally, it's a little too much to handle.
But I like to watch it. I wouldn't go there.
I like the radioactive stuff that most people drink. It's like neon green.
Yeah.
Like,
The ambrosia.
Yeah, I don't think that's safe to drink.
Yeah, maybe not.
That's good stuff. Should we throw it out to the audience for a few questions? Any questions out there for Luciana or Magda?
There's one right there.
Magda, I understood you were really excited about working with James Marsters. Can you share?
Oh, yeah.
She was telling me about that.
Both as an actress and as a fan, what did you think you got most out of the experience so far?
Did everybody hear the question, by the way? Because I don't know if we have an audience mic. The question was about working with James Marsters.
As an actor, as a person, it was a 12-year-old's kid's dream come true. I grew up loving Spike. I grew up loving Buffy the Vampire Slayer. For me, it was like, all right, I kind of like freaked out for a second with James, and I was like, I'm sorry, I just have to tell you, you are amazing and I love you. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, we can be professional and be actors. I felt really lucky. I really felt like, you know, a part of me had a full circle and had kind of a conclusion to me growing up. I felt like that show actually taught me some lessons about life, and to kind of, I've gotten to work with a few people from Buffy, and that was just a really amazing icing on the cake.
Very cool.
Luciana, have you been a big fan of genre and sci-fi? I mean, obviously you've been part of these two huge series now. Is it something that you're interested in as a fan as well?
I'm going to be honest with you, no.
Yeah. Honestly, it's good. I can tell if you're lying.
You know, but I wasn't before Battlestar, but I am now. Like, now I'm totally into it, and I'm totally into these conventions. I think they're so much fun. I have a total respect for this whole culture, man. It's just...
Is it cool as an actor to do genre and sci-fi roles, because you're probably not limited in terms of time and space? That you might be in like a conventional drama or another show on TV, and that there's more room for your imagination to play around?
Totally. Yeah, you can use your imagination a lot more than what you would use in something that's not science.
I know, you don't want to name something specific, eh?
Yeah.
But you're like, I can think of something.
Grey's Anatomy. Great show, but not, you know.
I love that show.
No V-World.
I'm sorry, that's incredible. And that's kind of operatic too, though. Like, you have to suspend some belief, because if you took one of those characters and, like, the amount of crap that happens to them, I don't know how they go on surviving. I don't know how they go on fighting, because I'm like, I could not be that strong. So
throw a Cylon in the mix, though, and it would get even more...
What's that?
Throw a Cylon in the mix, and it could get even more difficult for them.